Nobody wants to count calories. Nobody wants to weigh their food. Nobody wants to feel hungry all day and call it discipline. And here is the thing. You do not have to do any of that. 7 small habits around how you eat, not what you eat, not how much you think you are eating, automatically adjust your portions without any conscious effort. Your brain is already running a portion control system. It has been running it your entire life. The problem is not your willpower. The problem is that 7 things in your environment are feeding your brain the wrong information. Fix the information. Your brain fixes the portions. Belly fat follows. Stay with me because habit number 5 is the one that will make you look at your kitchen differently. It has nothing to do with food. Nothing to do with eating speed or utensil size. It is something about your plates that your brain is reading right now and getting completely wrong. Drop a comment before we start. Do you currently count calories or track your food? And how sustainable has that actually been for you? Why portion matters more than calories. Here is why calorie counting fails most people. Not because the math is wrong, because your brain does not track calories. Your brain tracks visual cues. It tracks eating speed. It tracks physical fullness signals from your gut. When those cues are accurate, you eat the right amount automatically. When those cues are distorted, you overeat automatically. No decision, no awareness, no memory of it happening. A series of studies from Cornell University's Food and Brand Lab found that environmental and visual cues surrounding eating produced larger effects on total daily calorie intake than conscious calorie tracking in free-living adults. The environment was more powerful than the intention. 7 habits change what your environment is telling your brain. When the information is right, the portions correct themselves. Habit number 1. The plate size problem. Picture your dinner plate. Most standard dinner plates are between 30 and 32 centimeters across. That size became standard in the 1980s. Before that, plates were 22 to 25 centimeters. Here is what happened to portion sizes at the same time. Your brain uses the plate as a reference point for what a normal serving looks like. When the plate is large, the same amount of food looks small relative to the plate. Your brain interprets that as an insufficient portion. You add more food without deciding to. When the plate is small, the same amount of food fills the plate. Your brain reads a full plate as a complete portion. Satiety signals engage at the right time. A study from Cornell University measured this directly. Switching from a 30-centimeter plate to a 22-centimeter plate reduced food consumption by 22%. Nobody told the participants to eat less. Nobody tracked their intake. They just used a smaller plate and consumed 22% less food without reporting any reduction in satisfaction or fullness. 22% less food. Same feeling of fullness. From a plate. Fix: use your salad plates for main meals. Not sometimes. Every main meal. Nothing else changes. Not what is on the plate. Not what you cook. Just the size of the surface you serve it on. That one change alone is enough to produce meaningful belly fat reduction over months without you ever noticing you are eating differently. Now, here is something that will change how you think about every snack you eat. Habit number 2 reveals why the container your food comes in matters more than how hungry you are. Habit number 2, eating directly from the package. You open a bag of crackers. You sit down. The bag is beside you. Hand goes in. Hand comes out. Screen is on. Hand goes in again. 20 minutes later, you look down, and the bag is almost empty. You did not decide to eat that much. You did not feel yourself eating that much. It just happened. Here is the exact mechanism. Your brain estimates portion size based on visual reference points. When you eat from a large container with no clear stopping point, your brain has no reference. It defaults to a simple rule. Keep eating until something external stops you. That something is usually the bottom of the bag. A study in the Journal of Consumer Research found that people eating from large containers consumed 45% more than people eating the same food from smaller containers or individual portions. 45% more, without realizing it, without feeling fuller afterward. The food was identical. The container changed the outcome. Fix: before eating any packaged food, take the portion you intend to eat and put it on a plate or in a small bowl. Put the original package away. Out of sight if possible. Eat from the plate. When you want more, you have to make a deliberate decision to stand up and get it. That friction alone stops most unplanned eating. Not because you decided to stop, because the automatic eating pathway was interrupted. Now here's the habit that most people have completely lost and do not realize they lost it. Habit number 3, eating at the speed of stress. Think about how fast you eat. Breakfast in 5 minutes while checking your phone, lunch at your desk in 10 minutes between tasks, dinner while watching something, fork barely stopping. Here's what your body needs that those speeds do not allow. Satiety hormones, specifically CCK and GLP-1, are released from your gut as food arrives and begins digesting. Those hormones travel to your brain through your bloodstream and vagus nerve. That journey takes 15 to 20 minutes. When you eat your entire meal in 10 minutes, you finish before the signal arrives. Your brain genuinely does not know the meal happened. You ate the right amount 15 minutes ago. Your brain found out after you were already done and had moved on to something else. Over years of fast eating, this creates a consistent pattern of eating more than your body needs at every single meal. Never with awareness, never with intention. A study in the Journal of the American Dietetic Association found that slow eaters consumed significantly fewer calories per meal and reported higher satisfaction scores compared to fast eaters eating the same food in the same setting. More satisfaction, fewer calories, same food, different speed. Fix. Put your fork down between every bite. Pick it up only after you have finished chewing and swallowing completely. Not as a permanent eating ritual, just until the habit of pausing becomes automatic. The goal is to stay inside the 15 to 20 minute window where your fullness signal has time to reach your brain before you finish the meal. What happens inside that window is entirely different from what most people experience at meals. And before we get to habit 5, here is something even smaller that changes how much you eat without any awareness at all. Habit number 4, the utensil you use. This one sounds too small to matter. It is not. The size of your fork changes how much you eat at every meal. Here is the mechanism. A larger fork creates larger bites. Larger bites mean fewer total bites per meal. Fewer bites means your brain receives fewer oral processing cycles. The act of chewing and swallowing, which is one of the signals your brain uses to register that eating is happening. Fewer cycles. Less satiety registered per unit of food. More food consumed before fullness arrives. A study published in the Journal of Consumer Research found that diners at home using larger forks ate significantly more than those using smaller forks. The effect was consistent and measurable, not from hunger, from bite size. Fix. Switch to a smaller fork for main meals at home. This takes zero effort to implement and zero ongoing attention to maintain. The mechanism runs automatically once the fork is different. Now here is habit number 5. This is the one most people never consider, and it has nothing to do with how you eat. It has to do with what your plate looks like before food is on it. Habit number 5. The color of your plate. Serve white pasta on a white plate. Your brain cannot clearly distinguish where the food ends and the plate begins. It underestimates how much food is there. You serve yourself more to compensate for the portion that looks smaller than it is. Serve the same pasta on a dark plate. Your brain sees the contrast clearly. The portion looks accurate. You serve an accurate amount. A study from Cornell University's Food and Brand Lab found that participants who used plates with low color contrast to their food served themselves 22% more than participants using high contrast plates. 22% more food from plate color. No awareness, no decision, no memory of the choice. Fix. Match plate color to contrast, not match the color of your food. White rice, pasta, and bread on dark plates. Meat and dark vegetables on lighter plates. Salads on any plate with strong visual contrast to the greens. This takes seconds to implement and requires no ongoing thought. Your brain handles the rest automatically. Now here is the container habit that compounds everything we have covered so far. Habit number 6. The bowl versus plate choice. Think about what you eat from bowls. Cereal, pasta, rice, salad, soup, basically everything. Here is what bowls do to your perception of portion size. The same volume of food in a deep bowl looks like significantly less than the same volume on a flat plate. The depth of the bowl hides the quantity. Your brain reads less food and interprets it as a smaller portion. You serve yourself more without any conscious decision to do so. A study in the International Journal of Obesity found that the same volume of food served in deep bowls was consistently perceived as a smaller portion and led to greater total intake compared to the same food served on flat plates. Same food. Different container shape. Different amount consumed. Fix. Use flat plates instead of deep bowls for main meals. For cereal, try a shallow, wide bowl or a plate with a slight rim. For pasta and rice, use a flat plate instead of a pasta bowl. The volume of food on the plate looks larger. Your brain registers a larger portion before you start eating. You naturally serve less and feel satisfied with less. And now for the final habit. This one requires no change to your plates, your utensils, or your container choices. It is something you can do at every single meal starting right now, and it has been practiced for thousands of years by some of the leanest, longest-lived people on Earth. Habit number 7. Eating past the signal. In Okinawa, one of the places with the highest concentration of people living past 100, there is a phrase that governs every meal. Hara, hachi, bu. Eat until you are 80% full. Not hungry, not stuffed, not even full. 80%. Here is the biology behind why this specific number works. Your satiety signal takes 15 to 20 minutes to travel from your gut to your brain. When you feel 80% full right now, the hormonal signals already traveling toward your brain will bring you to comfortable fullness in the next 15 minutes. When you eat until you feel 100% full, you have been overeating for the last 15 to 20 minutes. The discomfort you feel after a large meal is not your stomach being full. It is the food you ate after you were already full, before your brain received the signal. Every meal you eat to fullness, you are consistently eating more than your body needed. Not because you are greedy, because the signal arrives late and you did not know to stop earlier. A study in the Journal of the American Dietetic Association found that Okinawan populations practicing hara hachi bu showed significantly lower BMI, lower insulin levels, and lower inflammatory markers compared to populations eating to fullness in similar dietary environments. Lower insulin means less belly fat accumulation. Less inflammation means better fat-burning hormone function from stopping earlier. Fix. Eat slowly enough to feel the difference between 80% and 100% full. 80% is a specific feeling. It is the moment when food stops tasting quite as compelling as the first few bites. When the active pleasure of eating gives way to just continuing because food is still there. That is your signal. Stop there. Not because you have decided to restrict yourself, because in 15 minutes, that 80% will feel like exactly the right amount. And it will. Every time. 7 habits. None of them require eating less consciously. All of them let your brain eat less automatically. Habit 1. The common mistake. Large plates make identical food look insufficient, prompting your brain to request more without any conscious decision. Habit 2. The common mistake. Eating from large packages removes the visual stopping cue and increases intake by 45% without awareness or additional fullness. Habit 3. The common mistake. Eating at the speed of a busy day means finishing every meal before the satiety signal reaches your brain, consistently consuming more than your body needed. Habit 4. The common mistake. Large forks create larger bites, fewer oral processing cycles, and less satiety registered per unit of food consumed. Habit 5. What lean people do naturally. High contrast between food color and plate color allows accurate portion perception, reducing serving size by 22% without conscious restriction. Habit 6. The common mistake. Deep bowls hide food volume, making accurate portions look insufficient and prompting larger servings without any awareness of the effect. Habit 7. What lean people do naturally. Stopping at 80% full aligns the end of eating with where the satiety signal will actually land 15 minutes later, preventing the systematic overeating that full-to-stuffed eating produces. Here is what I want you to understand before you close this. Your brain already has a portion control system. It was designed to work perfectly. 7 things in your environment have been giving it wrong information. You did not fail at portion control. Your environment failed your brain. Fix the environment. Your brain fixes the portions. Belly fat follows. Start with one habit at your very next meal. Which of these 7 surprised you most today? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. If this changed how you think about portions and belly fat, subscribe to What Science Reveals. Real science explained clearly every single week. And if you want to see how your eating habits and dinner habits connect to everything we covered today, those videos are right here. See you in the next one.